Hey everybody, I'm Goose. You're watching On With The Show, and we had something come over. I had a podcast all set to go for today. I'm going to move that to tomorrow. But this news came out just as I was going to bed Wednesday night. I didn't have a chance to come on yesterday. I had to take care of some personal things, but Alex Murdaugh, I believe, South Carolina lawyer, who was convicted of a double murder of his wife and his son, is now getting another trial because that one, the verdicts in that one were thrown out. They were overturned. We're going to get into that in just a minute as I go over to the OPS. So just hold on. Let me switch over because this was shocking news when I read it Wednesday night, and I couldn't believe what I'd seen. So let's get into this. The headline from CNN says, court overturns Alec Murdaugh's murder conviction and orders a new trial. This is written by Eric Levinson and Diane Gallagher. And the article goes on to say the South Carolina Supreme Court on Wednesday overturned Alec Murdaugh's murder convictions and ordered a new trial in the killing of his wife and son in June 2021, saying the trial was marred by the improper influence of the county clerk, Becky Hill. We're going to get into this in her just a little bit. In a 5-0 ruling, 5-0, no objection. The court said Hill placed her fingers on the scales of justice, thereby denying Murdaugh his right to a fair trial and an impartial jury, although we are aware of the time, money, and effort expended for this lengthy trial, we have no choice but to reverse the denial of Murdaugh's motion for a new trial due to Hill's improper external influences on the jury and remand him for a new trial. The justice wrote, with its ruling, the court also vacated the 2 life sentences Murdaugh had received for the murder charges. Still, he separately pleaded guilty to dozens of financial crimes and will remain behind bars on concurrent state and federal sentences of 27 to 40. Yeah, he defrauded his customers, and he is serving long enough. He's serving long enough for all of that. Attorney General Alan Wilson said his office plans to retry Murdaugh on the murder charges, of course, because they kind of have to. They can't just walk away from this. It's like, we got a conviction before, we could probably get another one, despite how much this is going to cost. We can't just let him walk away from murder that they believe he committed. While we respectfully disagree with the court's decision, of course they have to say that, my office will aggressively seek a retrial of Alex Murdaugh for the murders of Maggie and Paul as soon as possible, Wilson told reporters. His hope is to get this case retried by the end of the year, but noted the window is still open for his team to ask the South Carolina Supreme Court to reconsider its decision or to appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. I don't think that's going to happen. The ruling is the latest twist in the sprawling murder saga, that has riveted the public and spawned true crime documentaries, podcasts, and books. Murdaugh, a prominent attorney from South Carolina, Low Country legal dynasty, was convicted by a jury of the murders of his wife Maggie and 22-year-old son Paul in March 2023. The 6-week trial featured extensive testimony about Murdaugh's dealings, stealing millions of dollars from vulnerable clients and his own law firm. He took the stand in his own defense and denied he killed his wife and son, a position he still maintains, even as he admitted to a massive financial theft and admitted that he lied to investigators about his whereabouts just prior to the killings. So, he's basically saying, yes, I'm a thief, but I'm not a murderer. I would not have murdered my family because I stole money. It's a good defense, if you think about it. Murdaugh attorneys appealed to the murder conviction, saying the trial was tainted by the county clerk's improper comments to jurors, prejudicial evidence, and failures at trial. Hill later pleaded guilty to criminal charges connected to the case. So this is the crux of it. The clerk, the county clerk, basically made comments to the jury She obviously believed Alex Murdaugh was guilty, so she influenced the jury in basically saying, yes, he's guilty, vote him guilty. This is what you need to do. And pleaded guilty for those charges. So they pretty much had no choice but to vacate the murder convictions. In contrast, prosecutors argued the conviction should stand. Murdaugh was convicted because the evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was obviously guilty of. Oh my God! You you had help, dude. You may have had this overwhelming evidence, but the clerk was behind the scenes going, "Find him guilty. Find him guilty. Find him guilty." Prosecutors acknowledged the clerk's comments were inappropriate, but said they were minor in the grand scheme of the trial. Oh my gosh. How could you do that? How can any prosecutor say, well, that was just minor. What she did wasn't any big deal. I mean, yeah, she influenced the jury. I mean, so what? The evidence was clear. He did do it. This goes against everything that we stand for as far as criminal trials are concerned. You can't have the jury. That's why you can't talk about it. You can't. It's not like, I have jury duty. I sit on a jury and I go home and they go, well, how was your day, dear? Because you can't talk about it. You can't talk about it until the conviction is already been rendered. And what she was doing behind the scenes was wrong. Let's just say this, at a February hearing on the appeal, the 5-member panel of justices appeared skeptical of the prosecutor's arguments. Yeah, I would be too. And I don't even know much about the trial. The murder trial was a capstone to a remarkable fall from grace for the personal injury lawyer whose father, grandfather, great-grandfather served as local prosecutors consecutively from 1920 to 2002. So that was a deep, that was a lot to live up to if you have that kind of family line. Murdaugh was partner of a powerful law firm with his name on it. But that prominence belied underlying issues. The killings of his wife and son were followed by accusations of misappropriated funds, resignation, bizarre alleged suicide for hire, insurance scam plot, stint in rehab, dozens of financial crimes, disbarment. Yeah, he's been disbarred. Murdaugh's appeal focused on allegedly inappropriate comments to jurors from Hill who worked during Murdaugh's trial. Later wrote a tell-all book about it. She wrote a book about it. What in the God's green earth, So not only does she commit a crime by influencing the jury, she writes a book about it. She writes a book about the trial. So she's effectively profiting off her own crime, which I think in most states is illegal. She can't do that. January 2024, retired South Carolina Chief Justice Jean Toll questioned several jurors about what Hill said and its impact on their decision. One juror, referred to as Juror Z, reported Hill said, "Watch his actions and watch him closely." When Murdaugh took the stand, the juror told the court those comments made it seem like he was already guilty. Further, the juror alleged Hill told the jury not to be fooled by the defense's evidence and said, "This shouldn't take us long," when deliberations began. Yeah, you can't say those things. You just can't. Juror X said the day of Murdaugh's testimony was important or epic, and Juror P said Hill made a comment to watch Murdaugh's body language. However, other jurors said they did not hear any comments, and all the jurors except for Juror Z and said Hill did not influence their decision. For her part, Hill denied most of these comments. Of course she said that. She admitted told the jurors Murdaugh's testimony was a big day, but likened it to come as a pep talk. That did not indicate favor of one side or the other. Toll determined those comments did not influence the jury's verdict and denied Murdaugh's request for a new trial. Still, Toll found Hill made improper comments to the jury, was not credible, and was attracted by the siren of celebrity. Hill was charged last May with perjury, obstruction of justice, and misconduct. The charges allege she made sealed evidence available. Oh my gosh. She made sealed evidence available to the media, lied under oath about doing so, and used her court position to promote her book about the trial. She pleaded guilty to the charges in December 2025 and was sentenced to 3 years probation. Oh my gosh. Murdaugh's attorneys argue that her comments violated his right to a fair trial and an impartial jury, while prosecutors downplayed their importance. We agree with Murdaugh, the court wrote in its ruling Wednesday. Prejudice is presumed from Hill's comments, and while this presumption is rebuttable, the state failed to overcome this presumption. Oh my gosh. So Alex Murdaugh is getting himself a new trial. Let's talk about that on the other side. Let me close out the OBS because this is just, all I needed to do was read this, and it was enough for me to go through. So let me just close out with the OBS. We'll talk about this on the other side. So yeah, Alex Murdaugh is getting himself a new trial because the court clerk, oh my gosh, couldn't. Here's the thing. Even if you believed he was guilty, even if you believe yes he did it, you can't let that interfere with the jury. You can't even. I mean, she could sit there and say, "Well, she could have presumed. Well, it's a big day. He's going to testify." Any other comments coming in after that, I wouldn't have even made those comments. You just can't. And then to top it all off, she writes a book about the whole thing. She unsealed evidence and gave it to the media, which you can't do. I mean, I want to just. It's just I'm dumbfounded. I am dumbfounded. And here's the thing: I wasn't personally following the Alex Murdaugh trial because it's in South Carolina. I live in California. We're on opposite coasts. I didn't know who the guy was. I didn't know what the prominence was of this because I didn't know what the Murdaugh family were. Now that I read more about it, yeah, they were very prominent family in their part of South Carolina, but. The guy he's serving all this time for his financial fraud. And they're going to retry him. They have to retry him. They don't have a choice in retrying him. And this might, oh my God, this might come down to where, you're going to have a sequestered jury. They may have had a sequestered jury already. Like I said, I didn't really follow the trial. I had more things going on then than I do now. But when I saw it, I couldn't believe that not only it was overturned 5-0, not like real close. We're not like 4-1 or 3-2. It was like 5-0. They all agreed saying that there was improper conduct in the court, and that even if you influence one juror, that's how bad it gets. I know you have 12, but even if you would influence one juror to vote the way you want to vote, that's cause for a mistrial. That much I know. That much, I've followed true crime and things like this before. It's like when you influence just one juror, it's cause for a mistrial. If you let your personal opinion, no matter what, get in the way and you say something, even if it's offhanded, to any juror, it's cause for a mistrial. And then to top it all off, like I said, she wrote a book. She wrote a book about it. That is insane. That is, I mean, I think that just threw more evidence on the fire to say that, yeah, there was something going on, and of course, they had hold on for a second. Of course, the first Supreme Court justice was like, there's nothing here to warrant a new trial. Now there is. And, it's like one of those things. It was like, well, while there's evidence of improper conduct, it's not enough to, grant a new trial. Well, apparently now there is. And I think it's just crazy. It's like, what more could possibly happen in this, that hasn't already happened? I mean, you're going to have a retrial. Again, like I said, they have to retry him. They don't have a choice. They could come back and say, and go, well, he's already in prison for like at least, 25, 40 years. I mean, at least he's in prison. He may not be in prison for murder, but he's in prison. I think what they want to do is they want to go for the throat. They want to make sure that he never comes out. He's never coming out anyway. Sad to say that, with all the time he has to serve, he's not getting out of prison. Just for his financial crimes, he's not getting out of prison. But they want to make a statement saying, yes, he murdered his wife, he murdered his son. This time they're really going to have to prove it. They're going to have to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt that he did it. And he's going to, and I would at this time, listen, do not take the stand. Let us do our job. Let us prove that you didn't do it. Don't get up there because they're going to try and get you again. But it's just one of those things. When I read, I thought, how more insane could this get? Seriously, I mean, how more insane could this get? It reads like a soap opera. And, and they're going to like it said, they're going to aim for the end of this year to try him again. He's not going anywhere. They know where he is. He's not out it's not like he's at home with an ankle monitor on. They know where he is. Which, bringing up that, there's another story I'm going to bring up next week concerning an ankle monitor of someone who was let go. But yeah, everything. I think this time they're going to definitely check their P's and Q's and make sure that when he gets his retrial, nothing interferes with this. You're going to have, and then not only that, you're going to have to find 12 people who don't know anything about this, at all. Which at this time, I mean, that's going to be really hard. I mean, especially in South Carolina. They're going to have to really dig deep to find 12 people who know nothing about Alex Murdaugh and his previous trial. Because, this was everywhere. I heard people talking on the radio about this. I'm like, why is this? I mean, I understand this is like sensationalized news, but this is a guy who he defrauded his customers and he supposedly murdered his wife and son to cover it up. Which, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's kind of just me personally, to murder my wife and my son to cover up my financial crimes, it's a stretch, in my opinion. I know that some people are going to be leaving me comments like, it's not that much of a stretch. I mean, unless that wife was so used to that lifestyle that she was like, I'm going to leave you if anything happens to the money. Which I don't know, but again, they already had a breeding. From what I've read, they had a business where they were breeding dogs. That's why they had kennels. I believe that's what it was, from what I've read. And they were doing rather successful in that. So, I mean, me personally, I think, both the prosecution and the defense has their work cut out on this, because I'm not even a lawyer, and I could probably bang holes into the prosecutor's defense. Let me just leave it out there like this. If Alex Murdaugh was defrauding his customers and his customers knew about it, he defrauded the wrong person. There's that possibility, and I'm just leaving this out there. I'm leaving this question out there because I know if I'm thinking it, someone else is thinking it. What's the possibility that someone he defrauded went to go after him and he wasn't there and decided to get rid of 2 witnesses and then pin it on Alex Murdaugh? I mean, what better revenge than to put someone who took your money in prison for murder? What better revenge? But then again, that's kind of that's kind of a little bit of a conspiracy theory reach there. We'll see how it all works out. But I am now interested in seeing what happens with this whole thing. All right. That's all I got on this topic today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel, bang the bell for notifications, bang the bell for notifications so you always know when new videos, new podcasts are uploaded to YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. Let me know that you liked it, because it does help me with the algorithm, and it does tell me that you did like this topic, and I can keep on going with other topics like this. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here for On With The Show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think is going to happen with the new trial. If you think he even deserves a new trial, and if you think that, maybe they'll come to, rather than going to trial, maybe they'll come up with a plea agreement. Maybe they'll come up with something that won't waste the taxpayers' money of South Carolina. We won't see this new drama anymore with Alex Murdaugh, because guess what? He's not going anywhere. He's already in prison, and he's going to be staying there for a long while. All right. Thank you so much. I am Goose. This is On With The Show. I will see you all on the other side.